to the FAA issuing a ban on drones over key areas of New York and New Jersey as the mystery over those sightings continues. Now, local officials, they want more answers from the federal government and they want more information. And Pequannock Township Mayor Ryan Hurd is among those pushing for answers. He says the drones pose an invasion of privacy to local residents.
Are we even paying attention to how bad things are getting? An expert says that China is gearing up for war. And what's our government doing about it? Oh, but wait, it gets worse. Before we even talk about our government, the FBI director is literally warning us about attacks on American soil. And we're still kind of acting like, oh, everything's fine. Meanwhile, a New Jersey mayor is ripping the Biden administration to shreds over their absolutely useless drone response. And just when you think the Democrats just couldn't sink any lower, a top DNC insider has turned on the party and bailed. That's right, guys. Yet another Democrat has turned on the party and literally just said, hey, I'm out of here. Deuces. That's right, guys. We're going to talk about that in a second. But that's not all. Starbucks. I don't know how many of you guys shop at Starbucks, getting some of those very expensive coffees and whatnot. Starbucks and Amazon workers are now striking across the country, and it's spreading faster than anybody would have expected. Right before Christmas. You guys seeing any long lines at Starbucks or maybe delays in your Amazon deliveries? But anyway, let's not forget about the Matt Gaetz ethics report that is now shaking up Capitol Hill, guys. That's right, guys. Some breaking news just came out about the Matt Gaetz ethics report. It's going to blow your minds. Anyway, is anybody even in charge anymore? Where's Joe Biden? Like, are we just watching the wheels of government and the White House just come off the bus in real time? I mean, like, what's really going on, y'all? By the way, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. But yeah, so Linda Lee, prominent fundraiser who has long supported the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, has recently announced that she is leaving the party. Yet another Democrat leaving the party. What's going on? It's gonna get to a point where the Democratic Party is not a party anymore when there's only like two people there, you know? Anyway, she's facing a lot of intense backlash for criticizing Vice President Kamala Harris and the Democrats' handling of the recent election. Linda Lee, who essentially served on the DNC's National Finance Committee, helped raise an astonishing $1 billion for Kamala Harris's campaign, but has since described the effort as a $1 billion disaster. So basically, she's getting a lot of flack for Kamala Harris's election and whatnot, but following the Harris election, Linda Lee voiced some strong criticism for Kamala Harris's campaign financial management, questioning how in the world did Kamala Harris's campaign end up spending $20 million over what they had raised, leaving them $20 million in debt despite the massive fundraising effort. And basically, she said, the truth is, this is just an epic disaster. I raised millions of dollars of that money, and now I have friends that I need to explain this to. She called the race a margin of error campaign and expressed the frustration in how it was conducted. But after Linda Lee's comments, she says that she became a target within her own party. Basically, it's a cult, if you ask me. But she described being ostracized and subjected to a wave of personal attacks. Speaking to Piers Morgan, she revealed that they called me a whore, the C word, and even asked for me to be deported. Wow. Democrats are like that? That's how they operate? No. Now, one particularly offensive comment accused her of being a communist spy, a remark that she deeply found hurtful given her Chinese American heritage and her family's history with the regime in China. So Lee also noted that the backlash intensified after she criticized Kamala Harris's campaign, saying that the Kamala Harris's campaign is indulging in delusions if she thinks that she could be the party's nominee in 2028. Which, you know, these remarks triggered a boycott of campaigns and called for her to be unblocked and unfollowed across social media. Yeah, so the backlash pushed Linda Lee to publicly sever ties from the Democratic Party, which she now calls a cult. She criticized the party for being quick to cancel individuals who deviate from this orthodoxy, basically adding that they pretend to be inclusive and tolerant. But if the mask is off, it's a different story. Now, as soon as I criticized Kamala Harris, I was ostracized despite everything that I've done for the party. End quote. Horrible. Wow. So Linda Lee, Lindy Lee, she's got, some people pronounce her name differently, but we'll just call her Linda Lee for the sake of argument, also shared that her donors are furious. And she feels like it's her responsibility to question how their contributions were used. She noted that these are legitimate questions, but in the cult, you just can't ask questions. You just got to follow the rules. You just got to do what you're told, right? Leaving the Democratic Party is like leaving a cult. It's terrifying. So Linda Lee has spoken favorably about Pete Hegseth, President-elect Trump's nominee for Secretary of Defense, and has suggested that she may channel her fundraising abilities toward the Republican Party. They're punishing me to bring my tens of millions of dollars to a team. They're pushing me to bring my tens of millions of dollars to a team that treats me like common decency. So I would do the same thing. If you're not going to treat me with common decency, I ain't going to stick around. I'll take my influence and my fundraising abilities to someone who gives a damn about me, right? Anyway, Lee's departure from the Democratic Party just highlights her growing disillusionment with the leadership, particularly Kamala Harris. She concluded, I don't want to be a part of this craziness anymore. They're accelerating my rightward shift. Wow. So get this, guys.
No packages, no time soon. I'm not storing shit down. Fuck y'all packages. Them bitches keep...
Starbucks expanding the strikes over more cities over the weekend, just before Christmas. Wow, this is crazy. So Starbucks workers are expanding their strikes to even more locations across the country, just days before Christmas, as tensions escalate between the company and its employers over contract negotiations. The union Starbucks Workers United, which was organized workers at 535 Starbucks locations since 2021, is leading the strikes. In fact, this actually started Friday and have now spread to cities including Denver, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, Columbus, Brooklyn, Long Island, Los Angeles, Seattle, and St. Louis. So a lot of people are like, yo, why are the Starbucks workers striking? Well, the strikes began in protest of what workers are seeing as a lack of progress in labor negotiations. Starbucks Workers United says that the company has failed to honor its February 2023 commitment to finalize a labor agreement by the end of the year. So the union also criticized the company's proposed wage increases, which offers no new raises for unionized baristas now, and only a 1.5% increase in future years. Now, I got to ask you guys, have you guys observed the fallout from these Starbucks strikes yet? Are you seeing longer lines in Starbucks, or maybe at the drive-thrus or anything like that? Comment down below, and also let me know what city or state you guys are in, whether you're seeing the backlash from this strike or not. I want to know from you guys. In addition, the union is calling on Starbucks to resolve hundreds of legal disputes to unfair labor practice charges filed with the National Labor Relations Board, the NLRB. These include allegations of the company resisting unionized efforts. The union has warned that strikes could impact hundreds of Starbucks locations by Christmas Eve, with dozens already participating. How many of you guys don't even, go to Starbucks? I mean, like, maybe you don't even use Starbucks. I don't know. Maybe you make your coffee at home. But workers at multiple Philadelphia stores joined the walkouts on Monday, adding to the growing number of striking locations. The timing of these strikes during the holiday season is strategic, as this is a period of high economic activity and visibility for companies like Starbucks. Wow. I remember this one girl, I saw her on, I don't know if it was TikTok or whatever, Instagram, Facebook, this one girl, she was saying that she had ordered some drink and it was $13. Now I was like, man, ain't no way in the world I'm going to pay $13 for some coffee. I don't know if it was like a Frappuccino, Macchiato. I don't know any of those names of the coffee drinks, because I don't typically go there. And if I do, I just order like a cheap, like, I don't know, like a, what's that? Amorado? I I don't know. It starts with an A. Let me know if you guys know what I'm talking about, because I don't even know what I order. That's how infrequent I do it. But anyway, but check this out. So while Starbucks baristas are striking, Amazon delivery drivers are also staging walkouts. So the Teamsters Union announced strikes at 7 Amazon delivery hubs last week, with workers demanding recognition for their union and better contracts. However, Amazon has refused to acknowledge the organization efforts, essentially arguing that the delivery drivers are employed by third-party businesses known as delivery service partners rather than Amazon itself. So an Amazon spokesperson, Kelly Nantel, has dismissed the Teamsters' claims, calling them misleading and denying that the union represents Amazon employees or drivers. Wow. So basically, there's the strikes at Starbucks and Amazon. They're kind of a part of a broader wave of like labor organizing in the United States, which gained a lot of momentum during the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the pandemic highlighted the challenges that were faced by frontline workers and drew a lot of attention to issues related to economic inequality. But workers across the industries, from dock workers to hotel employees and even video game performers, have gone on strike in recent years, securing significant concessions from employers. However, workers at Starbucks and Amazon, they're still fighting for their first contracts. Starbucks, they have long resisted unionization, but agreed earlier this year to negotiate a contract by the end of 2023. Now, this is a promise that the union now says the company has failed to keep. So for its part, Amazon continues to deny responsibility for its drivers' labor conditions, relying on its business model of contracting third-party delivery services. Strikes during the holiday season are obviously going to be particularly impactful because they can significantly disrupt operations at a very critical time for businesses. Q4 is big for almost any and every retail operation, period. So for Starbucks, the company strikes come at a moment when the company during Q4 relies very heavily on these holiday sales during Christmas time and customer goodwill. So union organizers hope this increased pressure will push the company to meet their demands. So yeah, basically workers at Starbucks and Amazon, they're using this moment to fight for their fair treatment, better wages, and contracts that reflect their value to their massive companies. With strikes spreading to even more locations, ultimately involving more and more workers, the outcome could literally set the stage for future labor negotiations across the retail and service industries. But the other thing that they're not talking about is how, with more and more labor costs driving up, this could cause the companies to not be as profitable. Shareholders won't be as happy. They won't get the same return on their investment. So this might cause Starbucks to want to say, hey, okay, we'll pay you more per hour, but we'll give you fewer hours. Or, hey, we'll pay you more per hour, but we're going to have to lay off some employees to offset the total cost of labor and overhead expenses. Or they might even want to advance their investments into AI and automation and ultimately not actually need human beings working in these establishments, maybe even automated drivers for Amazon. That way they can say, hey, screw the strikes. We'll just have machines, automation, AI, drive our vehicles, make our coffees, and we won't have human workers. We'll just have it completely run by robots. I mean, I wouldn't put it past those companies. They got a deep budget. They've got deep pockets. They can afford to do it. But let me know your thoughts, guys. Where do you think we're going from here? Are we going to see more and more robots and AI running things, eliminating more and more jobs? Or will we just see companies like Amazon and Starbucks and other companies that heavily rely on human workers just say, hey, this is just the cost of doing business. We'll pay our employees more money, but we'll just have to make up that higher labor costs with higher prices for our customers and spread the cost that way. So the House Ethics Committee just released a 37-page report that is accusing former Congressman Matt Gaetz of some very serious misconduct, essentially claiming that there is substantial evidence that he violated House rules. According to the report, the committee is alleging that Matt Gaetz was involved in acts of all sorts of things, anything from prostitution to drug use and more. Specifically, it claims that he paid these people to perform, let's just say, rather extraordinary acts. And this took place in a party in February back in 2017. I'm trying to keep it PG here, guys. But one of the most serious allegations involves a girl who was under the age of 18. Now, the report states that Matt Gaetz allegedly had all sorts of relations with this person and gave them $400. The ethics committee notes that the girl had just finished her junior year in high school at the time and reportedly did not disclose her age to Matt Gaetz. So Matt Gaetz is now attempting to block the report's release. In his legal motion for an injunction, he argues that the information in the report is false and that its release would cause him immediate, severe, and irreversible damage to his reputation. Understandably so. Now, supporters of Matt Gaetz have criticized the ethics committee's actions, dismissing the reports as vindicative and emphasizing that it is not a court of ruling. One ally remarked that the report is just a document that has not been proven in court, arguing that it serves very little purpose other than to provoke criticism.
Now, Gaetz is suing to block the release of the report. His effort for an injunction says information in the report is, quote, false. It adds that the reputation of Gaetz, quote, would be immediate, severe, and irreversible.
So House Speaker Mike Johnson opposed making the report public, pointing out how Matt Gaetz is no longer a member of Congress. The House also voted against Democratic motions in order to force the release of the report. It's also worth noting that earlier this year, federal authorities cleared Matt Gaetz of criminal wrongdoing in this matter. This particular situation has sparked significant debate, some arguing that the report should not have ever been released, and since it lacks legal proof, while others are viewing it as a critical matter of public accountability. But get this, guys, China's recent actions are now causing serious concern about the possibility of war, with experts like Gordon Chang warning about the dangers. A new report from the Pentagon reveals that China has dramatically expanded its nuclear operations and weapons program, reportedly tripling its stockpile during the Biden administration. Ratner, the Assistant Director of Defense for Indo-Pacific Security Affairs, has raised critical questions about China's rapid military buildup, asking why China is building up so many weapons and what it plans to do with them.
Well, a new Pentagon report says that China is rapidly expanding its nuclear arsenal, nearly tripling it under the Biden administration. Assistant Secretary of Defense for Indo-Pacific Security Affairs, Eli Ratner, sounding the alarm over why China could be doing this.
Expansion of China's nuclear program raises the question of what are all these nuclear weapons for? And they haven't answered that question.
Why are they doing this? Well, Beijing's move comes as also as deepening ties with Russia while increasing pressure on Taiwan. Gordon Chang is here, Gatestone Institute senior fellow, author of the book, China is Going to War.
Well, certainly, because we've seen all the preparations for it. Xi Jinping can't stop talking about going to war. He's also engaged in the fastest and the largest military buildup since the end of the Second World War. He's stockpiling grain and other commodities. He is trying to sanction-proof his regime. He's firing military officers who are opposed to going to war. He's mobilizing civilians, and he's surveying the U.S. for nuclear weapons strikes. We see all these Chinese incursions and attempted incursions into our military bases, especially in September when a Chinese national twice tried to sneak on to a U.S. nuclear weapons base in the lower 48 states. So it's clear what they want to do.
So Gordon Chang, he wrote the book, China is Going to War. He believes that the Chinese president Xi Jinping is preparing for a potential war, especially over Taiwan. He also highlights some alarming actions by Xi Jinping. So Xi Jinping is essentially, he's overseeing the largest and the fastest military expansion since World War II. He's stockpiling all sorts of essential supplies like grain, and he's making China's economy a lot more resilient and resistant to international sanctions. He's also firing all sorts of military officers who disagree with his aggressive plans and mobilizing civilians in order to prepare for conflict. Now, there have been repeated incidents of Chinese nationals trying to break or sneak into U.S. military bases, which raises significant fears of espionage and even sabotage. According to Gordon Chang, Xi Jinping has not officially decided to start a war, but is willing to take big risks, including threatening U.S. allies and preparing for direct conflict with the United States. So Gordon Chang, he's criticizing the Biden administration, saying that it really hasn't done enough to warn the American people about the growing threat coming from China. He believes that many Americans wrongly assume that they're safe and that the government needs to prepare both the military and the citizens for the possibility of a serious conflict. Now, a lot of people are concerned about nuclear war. We don't know the extent of this, but when asked how a future Trump administration might handle the situation, Gordon Chang suggested that Donald Trump would need to warn the public about how dangerous things are and take steps toward stopping China. So this includes promising to defend Taiwan, speeding up weapons sales to the region, and focusing more on military readiness instead of other Pentagon priorities. Now, Gordon Chang also wants to warn the global situation is getting worse. China's already involved in proxy wars in places like the Ukraine, North Africa, and the Middle East, while also preparing for potential direct war. He stresses that the U.S. military and the defense leaders need to take this threat much more seriously to avoid a catastrophe. In short, Gordon Chang's basically saying, hey, he believes Xi Jinping is taking aggressive actions that could lead to war, and the United States has to respond decisively in this growing challenge. If not, things could get a whole lot worse for us. But of course, the Federal Aviation Administration, the FAA, has just issued a ban on drones flying over parts of New Jersey and as well as New York, and it's due to mysterious drone sightings. So the FAA has issued a ban. Can't fly any drones over parts of New York and New Jersey. But the response from the federal government is facing a lot of criticism. Mayor Ryan Hurd of New Jersey has been very vocal in his frustration, accusing the Biden administration of failing to address this particular issue effectively and leaving residents in the dark.
So the FAA issuing a ban on drones over key areas of New York and New Jersey as the mystery over those sightings continues. Now, local officials, they want more answers from the federal government and they want more information. Now, Pequannock Township Mayor Ryan Hurd is among those pushing for answers. He says the drones pose an invasion of privacy to local residents. The mayor joins me now. So, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate you being here for this. You know, you've seen the drones. Do you buy the answers that you're hearing on the federal level that these are planes or personal drones?
Well, good morning, Ed, and thank you for having me on. Do I buy it? Absolutely not. See, here's the problem. You know, we are now almost 2 weeks into this since I penned the letter 2 weeks ago Sunday, and we had 21 mayors that actually signed that letter. Up until now, there's been a lot of talk. There's been a lot of posturing, but there has been no action. We still have no idea what's going on. With that said, I do expect the federal government to step up and get one of these over the ocean. Apparently, there's plenty of space that we can get this.
So Mayor Ryan Hurd released that 2 weeks ago, and he and 21 other mayors sent a letter to federal officials demanding action and answers about the drone activity. Now, despite this, Mayor Hurd says that there have been a lot of talk and no action. He's particularly concerned about the privacy of local residents and the lack of transparency regarding the origin and even the purpose of these drones. Now, during an interview, Senator Richard Blumenthal suggested shooting down some of the drones to determine their origin. However, Mayor Ryan Hurd, he dismissed this idea of citizens trying to take such actions, warning that it could be very dangerous to, and it could also lead to some unintended consequences. So he doesn't want residents shooting down drones. Instead, he urged the federal government to retrieve one of the drones and provide some clear answers to the public. Mayor Ryan Hurd also criticized the federal government's slow response, comparing it to the handling of the suspected Chinese spy balloon incident last year, which traveled across the United States before even being addressed. He expressed frustration at what he sees as repeated failures by the Biden administration to protect the public and provide timely information. Now, when asked why the authorities haven't figured out where the drones are coming from or where they're landing, Mayor Hurd speculated that the government likely knows but is withholding this information. He also argued that the lack of communication, it kind of allows conspiracy theories to grow, particularly as people watch the news and about international conflicts in the Ukraine and Syria and wonder if similar threats could arise closer to home. Adding to the concern, Mayor Hurd pointed out that these drones are not small hobby drones, but they're much larger with much more advanced models. He criticized the federal agencies for using inadequate technology in order to track the drones and accused them of downplaying the situation by attributing the sightings to planes, stars, or even legally operated drones. He called the strategy plausible deniability. Mayor Ryan Hurd also called on the New Jersey governor to do a lot more, acknowledging some engagement, but arguing that both state and federal governments have fallen short. He basically describes the leadership over the past few years as absolutely useless in addressing these types of issues. With Christmas approaching, Mayor Hurd expressed his frustration that families should be focused on holiday celebrations, not worrying about mysterious drones and whatnot. He suspects the government might be trying to bury the issue during the holidays, hoping the public's just going to forget about it. I ain't going to forget about it. Are you guys going to forget about it? Y'all let me know. Let me know your thoughts, guys. Hit the like button if you haven't already. Subscribe to the channel. Check out our previous videos. Thank you so much for sharing these videos. You guys are freaking awesome. I've actually left some helpful links for you guys in the description down below, and we'll see you guys on the next one.